welcome back to Rishi on Demand. Y'all, if you're new here, my name is Ashley and I'm a lifestyle influencer here on YouTube, Instagram, and on my blog, Rishi on Demand. I am a finance professional, so I think that gives me a little bit of experience to talk about credit because I've issued it, I've read the documents, and I understand it very, very well. That being said, I am not a credit repair professional. I don't claim to be, and this is not professional advice. This is just what worked for me. I just really wanted to come sit down and talk to you guys very candidly about my journey to increasing my credit score 150 points from 597 to 747. And I did it in 60 days and I did it by myself. I did not hire a credit repair company or anything like that. I wanted to tell you what worked for me because with the socioeconomic climate we're in, credit is going to be essential for those of us who just don't have the savings accounts or trust funds of some of our counterparts. And I'm not talking about any specific group. I'm saying the average American person is going to need to use credit to leverage and gain access to capital to start businesses, finance homes, things like that. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Consider clicking the link down below. I'm planning on doing a whole series about credit repair and my journey, and hopefully it will help you. So let's get started. Let me digress. Originally, I had a pretty decent credit score in the high 600s, and I made some decisions. We all make decisions, and I bought a home, and I ended up having to short sell the home, long story short, and it tanked my credit score. That's the story. There's nothing ulterior about it. Yes, I went through my trials and tribulations as everyone does, but that was the main contributor to my credit score being in the mid 500s. My husband and I recently refinanced our home here in the New Orleans metropolitan area, and through some delays and things like that, and trying not to pay too much of the credit card debt to keep the payoffs the same, and trying not to be late, and in the pandemic, because my husband was affected during the pandemic, and we became essentially a one-income household for a few months there, and it was really, really tight. It was really, really tough because we weren't prepared for not only one of our incomes to go away, but also for a lot of the other financial things that was happening during the pandemic. So we just weren't financially ready. We weren't ready. We were paying for our wedding and we just weren't ready. Lesson learned. So I have always monitored my credit. I've always been a subscriber to Credit Karma for the daily alerts and my FICO. Those are the two platforms that I have always had. It's not something that I will ever get away. I'm honestly probably atypical to the normal person because I closely monitor my credit. Even when it's tanking and bad, I want to know what's happening and why it's happening. So for a little while, I had all of the credit reporting apps: Credit Karma, Credit Sesame, Credit Wise, Identity IQ, Privacy Guard, My FICO, Score Sense, the Discover Scorecard. I had them all. But the point that I'm trying to make is you want to know what's on your credit. And I know that goes without saying, and there are plenty of credit gurus here on YouTube that will tell you the same. There's no way for you to repair or rebuild your credit if you don't know what's on the report. So what I suggest, if you don't want to pay for a service like My FICO, I would suggest going to Experian.com, I think Equifax.com, and I believe TransUnion, but maybe you have to pay on TransUnion site to get your report. But I know Equifax.com and Experian.com will give you your actual reports with those agencies. Now, you can also go to annualfreecreditreport.com. You as a consumer are entitled to one free credit report every year, I believe. Also, if you've ever been declined for credit, you can request a copy of your credit report normally via writing, submitting a written request. Those are ways to look at your credit report, specifically with the bureaus. You can also look at it through Credit Karma as well if you just want to get access to the TransUnion one quickly. it will have what's on the credit report normally. But I recommend you want to get that paper credit report. You want to pull it up online and print it out, or you want to submit that written request and have it mailed to you, and you want to have your credit report in front of you. So that's what I did. I'm a subscriber of my FICO, so I printed my credit report on my FICO, and I sat down and I looked at all of the things that my FICO said was harming my credit score. And the main categories that was harming my credit score was my credit utilization. My payment history was pretty good. I hadn't had any late payments reported in over 5 years. So I think that gives you like a 98 or 99%. And credit payment history is something that once you're late, you just have to kind of wait it out, unless you do some of the things I'm going to talk about in another video, such as disputing those late payments. But yeah, so the first thing I did was I pulled my credit report, I sat down and I looked at everything that was on it, and I highlighted it in red. For me, I'm a color person, so I felt if I highlighted it in any other color other than red, I wouldn't notice it as bad. So you can use a pink highlighter, or I have like a red highlighter. It's not like a red marker, it's like a red highlighter. And I highlighted everything in my credit report that would be a negative item. I had some collections and charge-offs that were on my report from years prior, truly, but they were on my report and they were pulling my score down. What I have seen in the banking industry, especially recently, is those collections accounts and charged off accounts, they matter that they are there. Even if that particular account is past the 24-month mark, they still matter from an underwriting standpoint. So what I've noticed is a lot of banks, and I work in the finance industry, in the banking industry, so I'm letting you know some real tea right now. A lot of banks have gone away with the automatic underwriting systems. Not done away with them where they don't go through them, but they will still manually review credit applications, even credit card applications. I know Chase in particular will ask you for income verification and identity verification, so they are manually looking at your reports, and those charge-offs matter. And as far as my credit score went, while I had pretty positive payment history in recent years, my utilization was too high, and I had some outstanding collections and charged off accounts that were pulling my score down. Now, one thing I want to note in this whole process is I had a credit card, an old Discover account that was closed and had been sent to collections. However, that card was still counting against me negatively in the utilization calculation. So while all of my current and open credit cards had super low usage, this card, which had been, of course, maxed out, I had made poor decisions in my early 20s like a lot of people, and closed and then sent to collections, this card was still being factored in every single month to my utilization score. So as far as the credit bureaus were concerned, my utilization score was like 118%, which is terrible. So the first thing I did was I had some savings, and then we had refinanced our home, and I decided to aggressively attack those revolving accounts first. Those are the ones that specifically fall into that utilization category, which makes up 30% of your credit score, and that's a good way to see a huge increase really quickly. So what I did was I took a good amount of change, I'm not gonna lie, it was a good amount of money, and I paid down all of my credit accounts to less than 10% or zero. I know that everyone would say less than 30% is better than 50%, which it is. Less than 30%, in my opinion, is acceptable. But if you really want to get the most bang for your buck, pun intended, you really want to get those credit utilization percentages down to below 10%. Some millionaires would say 2% is the sweet spot, between 2 and 4%, but I know that's not realistic for a lot of people, and 10% may not be realistic, but you need to make a goal that any extra little money you have that burger you might buy, or that outing you might go spend $100 on, maybe you might reconsider and send that $100 to your credit issuer. And you can send more than one payment to your credit issuer a month. You don't have to save all of the money and then send it in one lump sum. I have friends who I've told to do this before because they have an issue with saving. So I say, well, as soon as you get it, send it to them. That way it's gone. You don't have to think about it anymore. You can't spend it. You can't accidentally spend it if you're trying to save it. Just send it to them when you have it. So after you've paid down your credit card debt to preferably less than 10%, the next thing you want to look at is your collections accounts. Collections accounts basically live on your credit report to pull your score down. So I knew collections and charge-offs were my next course of action. I also knew from previous experience that disputing a collections account directly with the credit bureau, normally for the average individual without any credit repair experience, would prove unfruitful. So what I decided to do is I decided to go to the collections agencies directly and negotiate a payment, whether I decided to pay it in full or whether I decided to negotiate a settlement, which I highly suggest. I do not suggest that you pay in full any collections if you can, because they bought these accounts for pennies on the dollar, and anything they get you to agree to over and above that is pure profit. And I'm not trying to make them rich. I'm just trying to fix my credit. So once I've negotiated those pay settlements or those agreements to pay, and I have something in writing stating that this is the agreement, this is the agreed upon amount, I will send that payment via check or cashier's check or money order. I would never ever give a collections agency your debit card information, your banking account information. I would not do it, and I don't recommend you do it. So once I received confirmation from the collections agencies that they have received and processed my payment, then I started the dispute process. Because now the balances that are on my credit report from those credit agencies are inaccurate. I have proof that those balances have been paid. I have proof that the credit agency no longer should have an account with me, or whatever the letter or proof or receipt says. So what I did was I did online disputes. I know mailing disputes are preferred because you give up some rights with online disputes and things like that. However, for me, speed was more important because I wanted to see those drastic score changes quickly. So typically it takes a company a month or two to update your information with the credit bureau, if they even do it at all, because once you pay, they really have no incentive to update that information. I'm not saying they won't, but they have no incentive to update that information. They have every incentive to report negative information because that will persuade you to pay them. Now that you've paid them, even if you settled, they have no incentive to report the updated information quickly. So what I did is I used online disputes, and I now dispute the collections and charged off accounts stating inaccurate reported information. I either disputed the balance, I disputed that the account was even open because now the account is closed because you paid it, and things like that. Now, with online disputes, specifically if you go to the actual credit bureau site like Equifax and Experian, they give you a space where you can write why you're disputing this account. I recommend that you utilize that section. Don't just click the button that says this account is inaccurate, or this balance is not mine, or this balance is paid in full. Explain that pursuant to the Fair Credit Reporting Act, this account is reporting fraudulent and predatory information because the balance on this account has been paid in full. I do have a receipt of this balance being paid in full. Please verify with the agency whether the balance reported is my balance. If not, I request that you delete it immediately, because blah, 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 whatever, you know, something like that. But ultimately, you want to say why you're disputing it, reference the Fair Credit Reporting Act. You don't have to reference any particular section, because I'm telling you, 609 doesn't work for everything. I don't know why people even say you should send a 609 letter, because normally it has nothing to do with inaccuracies at all. But we'll get into that later, another video, another time. But you want to say why you're reporting this item as inaccurate, any documentation you physically have that you could send them upon request, and you want to ensure that you're including it, that your request is that the account be deleted if this information is proved inaccurate. Okay, submit the dispute. So that is exactly what I did for each collections account or charged off account that I negotiated settlement with, or I wanted removed from my credit report. So I submitted those, and I also submitted some that I didn't pay, because you never know, they might slip through the cracks, you never know, and some did. So the reason that I'm telling you this is because you have to think about what you're actually disputing. A lot of people quote statutes and sections of the Fair Credit Reporting Act without actually understanding what the different sections mean. So citing those sections actually hurts your dispute more than anything, because they know that you probably just copied some generic dispute letter online. They have sophisticated technology to scan those disputes and those type of phrases in your disputes, and you will immediately they will immediately send out, oh, this account is verified, and you will be shadow banned, for lack of a better word. So you don't want your credit report flagged at all. So I recommend you speak in the complaint as you would speak if you were sitting in front of a representative at the agency explaining the situation. So this is the things that we've done so far. I've paid down my credit utilization to 10% or less, most of them 0, but 10% or less. And I've also disputed my collections and charged off accounts after negotiating a settlement and payment with the collections agencies and receiving a receipt or a confirmation or something like that they received the payment. And then you wait. Now, what I've noticed is Experian is super fast with their disputes. Experian, for me, updated my disputes maybe a week or two after me submitting them, and I love having credit alerts set up with Experian.com. I highly suggest that you set it up. They have a free membership, and you get access to all the things that you need to monitor your credit with Experian. MyFICO is another great tool that will update you as soon as those reports are updated with the credit bureau. So I'm just waiting at this point, and every other day I'm getting an alert that my points going up 10 points, and it went up 5 points, and it went up 10 points, and it went up 5 points. And then the beautiful thing started happening, which is those utilizations started reporting, because it takes about a monthly cycle for it to report. And I would see a 20-point increase, and a 30-point increase, and an 18-point increase, up, until that report says 747 credit score. You guys, it's possible. And I did it in 60 days or less. Some less, because I haven't done anything on the reports within the last couple of weeks. And I just started this process, I assure you, in December, early December. So I'm saying 60 days just to give you some wiggle room, but really it can be done in 30 days or less. So be smart about what you're doing, be strategic, and just follow the steps that I laid out for you. Credit utilization, 10% or less. Negotiate those payoff amounts with the collections agencies. Receive the receipt that they have received the payment. Dispute the collections accounts based on inaccurate reporting information directly with the credit bureaus. And wait. Now, I'm going to do a whole series about this because I want to talk to you about dispute letters in particular, as well as disputing inquiries on your credit report. So stay tuned for that. So yeah, I hope you guys use this information. It's important for you to have a healthy credit score, especially in times like this. And I just want to help everybody I can. So if this video helped you, or you know somebody that's struggling to figure out a way to increase their credit report or their credit score, or figure out how to get some inaccuracies off their credit score, just share this video with them and like this video. It helps the YouTube algorithm so much. And thank you guys so much. Until next time, bye.